So today we'll learn about the gold saint of Leo of the 18th century. Stick around. Kaiser was the saint of Leo during the Holy War against Hades in the 18th century. It is a saint that has the lion heart. He is usually accompanied by his animal companions Goldie and Blondie. Appearance. At first glance, it has an appearance somewhat similar to that of Aiolia. But upon careful observation you can see the differences. Kaiser's hair is shorter and his locks point in a different direction at the top and sideburns. And on his face we can see that his eyebrows are much thicker than those of the saint of Leo of the present, resembling the Rhadamanthus spectrum. Originally his hair was colored with a light brown, but in the most recent chapters he is totally blonde like his predecessor, although clearly this is because the person responsible for coloring is someone else. Personality. It has a tough character, an uncompromising personality when it comes to arguing, and incredulous about the things he can't see. He stands in the way of Shun to prevent his passage through the Temple of the Lion. Despite the fact that the Saint of Andromeda tells him the truth about his origin in the future and about the Patriarch's betrayal, he does not believe a word. In the same way, he assures that he will cut off the head of the leader of the saints if his treason turns out to be true, which shows his strong conviction in justice. He also trusts Goldie a lot but is very stubborn in not believing his assistant when the sign that Tenma and Shun are faithful saints to Athena becomes evident. History. Past. In his childhood, he had a confrontation against the Lion King, of whom he had learned that he was killing people who lived in the village of Ridorio and that he had the so-called lion heart thanks to death toll. In this confrontation he managed to defeat the Lion King, but he had managed to pierce the heart of the young Kaiser, that is, when Odysseus arrives at the place and, at the request of the Lion King, he operates the heart of Kaiser by transplanting the heart of the lion to Kaiser so that he can live and continue the legacy of the lion heart. A long time later, Suikyo had to kill a lioness to save Doko, and 2 cub lions are orphaned. Kaiser, already with the title of Gold Saint, appears before Suikyo, Shion and Doko and decides to adopt them to raise them as 2 powerful guardians, to later call them as Goldie and Blondie. Sometime later, Kaiser and the rest of the Golden Saints aspired to check if Odysseus, Doko and Shion were alright, since the Bronze Saints aspirants went to train on a dangerous island. Kaiser witnessed how Odysseus' body suffered several burns from the eruption of the volcano. Kaiser was present at Odysseus' funeral along with the other people helped by the Silver Saint. Shun's arrival. Kaiser appears when Shun arrives at the house of Leo. Kaiser is accompanied by Goldie, a giant lion who himself lists him as a sacred lion. Kaiser tells Shun to withdraw. Shun tells him that the Patriarch is a traitor. Kaiser says that if that is true he will not hesitate to execute the Patriarch and tells Shun to leave. Shun says he will not leave. Kaiser he tells Goldie that Shun will be his food now. Kaiser is shocked to see that Goldie has grown attached to Shun. Shun tells Kaiser that he comes from the sanctuary of the future. Kaiser does not believe Shun and Kaiser tells Goldie to teach Shun what is wrong with him. To the people who tries to pass the house of Leo without permission, Goldie brings Suikyo's body, which is very wounded. Kaiser tells Shun that to pass he has to beat him. Fight with Shun and Tenma. Shun attacks Kaiser with his Nebula chain attack, but this attack does not reach the Saint of Leo. Shun attacks him again, but this time the attack rebounds and then Kaiser attacks Shun with his Fist of Light and warns him about his impending death, but Shun refuses. Suddenly Goldie falls and the 2 knights are shocked. Then Kaiser angrily tells him not to go into combat and if he was determined to protect Shun. The Saint of Gold warns him that if he does not move away he will attack him. Shun quickly throws one of his chains at Kaiser and tells him that he slowed down his attack and that's why he was able to catch him. Kaiser launches Shun through the air and prepares to attack him. Tenma suddenly appears saying that he had heard different things than what he was seeing about Kaiser and that Goldie was better than him. Kaiser, surprised, he asks why this comment. Tenma responds by saying that the lion could realize that Shun was not an enemy and yet he was not. Kaiser orders Goldie to attack the Knight of Pegasus. Tenma manages to stop the attack with a fist. Meanwhile, Kaiser warns Shun that when Goldie ends Tenma, her time will come. Before Goldie could attack again, Tenma bandaged his injured leg and decided to continue the fight. Kaiser warns him that helping his enemy is stupid when he realizes that Goldie is licking Tenma. Later, Kaiser notices that Shijima's cosmos begins to disappear. Invasion of the wraiths into the House of Leo. Kaiser feels that the evil cosmos he has felt is approaching the House of Leo. Kaiser sees Cancer's death toll arrive with a group of ghosts. The ghosts prepare to attack, but Goldie easily defeats them. Kaiser tells him that there is only him left and to choose who he wants to fight with or Goldie. Kaiser destroys the worm specter tentacles. Kaiser destroys the tentacles of the worm specter. Death Toll says that with none because he is not a traitor and says that there is still a specter. Suddenly tentacles come out of the ground and catch Kaiser and Goldie. But Kaiser is easily freed and Death Toll finishes defeating the worm specter. Kaiser sees that an underworld fairy was watching him. Death Toll tells him that the fairy was observing Suikyo. Kaiser notices that Suikyo has disappeared. Kaiser says that he is sure that Suikyo is heading to the House of Virgo. The emissaries. Kaiser continues to guard Leo's house with Goldie at his side. When suddenly Ikki from Phoenix and Death Toll arrive, Goldie begins to back away from the presence of the Phoenix, which surprises Kaiser since it is the first time that it happens. Kaiser he asks Ikki who he is. The latter upon hearing this introduces himself as Ikki of the Phoenix. 1. Leo's proof. After this, Death Toll tells him that Ikki is not an enemy, so he asks him to let him pass, but Kaiser refuses and asks how he knows that Ikki is not an enemy, to which the Cancer Saint replies that he guarantees it. But even so, Kaiser agrees to let him cross the House of Leo, but tells him that in the event that he manages to get to him, he will believe him. Immediately Kaiser quickly attacks his opponent with a lightning bolt and then with a lightning plasma. It is in that moment that Death Toll intervenes in the battle and reveals to him that Ikki is his successor. Upon hearing this, the Golden Saint asks him if he has a relationship with Shun, to which Ikki replies that he is his brother. Immediately afterwards, Kaiser tells him again that he will believe if he manages to get to him, which Ikki accepts, and then the Golden Saint attacks him. While Ikki rejected the attack of the Golden Saint with Hoyoku Tensho, Kaiser is surprised since Ikki was not counterattacking. The latter replies that couldn't hurt his antecedent Sora, and also the true enemy would come soon, so Kaiser should not suffer any damage. Ikki kept going up the stairs and the Golden Saint. However, despite what you might think, Kaiser does not attack the Bronze Saint. Instead, he presses its chest and then prevents it from falling to the ground. While I congratulate him for getting to where he was. Curiosities. Its design is based on the design for the Leo Aiolia anime, although into the manga design both have greater differences. Unlike Aiolia, who is the youngest and most inexperienced gold saint of his generation, Kaiser seems to be one of the most veteran of his, since while Doko, Suikyo and Jian were training to become saints, Kaiser was who led training, possibly already being the Golden Saint of Leo. Within Kurumada's direct history, Kaiser is the second saint and warrior to have a specialized combat support animal. Although unlike Jamian, who uses a flock of crows, Kaiser only has 2 lions. Although only Goldie and Blondie have combat protection, he is the only saint of gold who requires the fruit of Corleone to continue living, because the heart of the Lion King was transplanted and it has immunosuppressive effects. He is the only golden saint known to have an assistant. When he faced the Lion King to get the lion heart, he tells him that he already owns it, which means that the test was not to remove the heart from the Lion King to keep it. However, after his own heart was pierced in his last crossing with the same one caused that with his last forces, the Lion King asked Odysseus to transplant his because he was a worthy heir. Subscribe and like the video, share it on your networks, and I will come back with more Saint Seiya for you. Until next time, Saints.